Question for Julia. Julia, normally actors say that it's fun to play the villain. Do you agree with this? And if so, why?
Well, it was fun to play this villain because there aren't any real rules of syntax or reality that apply to her. So I could kind of do anything and just go off the rails in any direction at any time, and it would make sense to me. And so in that regard, it was a lot of fun. You don't have to worry too much about the reality of would a person really do this.
My question would be for Ms. Collins, Ms. Roberts, and also for Mr. Singh. The original Snow White fairy tale, and a lot of fairy tales are from this European, feudal, very prehistoric almost tradition in terms of her gender politics and politics about class. I'm wondering, how do you make this film and leave in all the princessy stuff that little girls love, but avoid the tropes and traps that women might find offensive from those classical original tales?
Well, I think visually, being in those costumes all the time, the little girl inside of me would just be in awe the whole time watching the film. So definitely the physical aspect of the film, the way it looked. Also, the way that we modernized Snow White was making her this modern day girl that can save the prince just as easily as the prince can save her. And she becomes a fighter physically and emotionally, and goes from this young, wide-eyed, innocent princess that everyone grew up knowing to a young woman who finds it within herself to fight for what she believes in. And gives the prince a run for his money while wearing these gorgeous outfits. So it proves that you can still be that princess, but you can also have a lot of fight and fights within yourself.
Yes, my question is. You finished? My question.
To answer your question, I think just on fairy tales, they've always evolved, and for different cultures at different times, they're very different. I think the original Brothers Grimm were, I think, the original studio heads, because the time before that, Snow White was a very dark tale. It was they that came in and actually switched it. So it was always supposed to be Snow White's mother that did that. It wasn't Snow White's stepmother. But at that particular point, it was certainly deemed not right to put the mother in that particular position. They changed it. Snow White, in the end, when she gets married at that particular time, was, if anybody knows, 9 years old. That doesn't sit well today. So you kind of have to evolve and change it. So you take those challenges in, and you still try to figure out what is acceptable for the audience you're making it, and somewhere in between you kind of find something. So it's not the one before the Grimm Brothers, it's not the one that they made, but today, and I wish one thing I'd fought for and done, but it never really came to me, was the stepmother idea. There's so much more stepmothers today that are good than people. And I think that's just something I wish I had moved on, but never really got a chance to address. Thank you.
Yes, my question is to Julia and Lily. Lily told me previously about the snow. I'm just wondering, since it's a fairy tale, not too much extra stuff going on, was there any physical challenges? Because I know the fight scene and all that. Were there any physical challenges that you had?
I had so many bumps and bruises.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the snow being salt and coarse salt was not that fun when wrestling and losing and, scraping yourself. But it was, I guess, the overall environment, that forest had a lot of hills and a lot of places to trip and fall, and I'm the kind of person that falls going upstairs. So for me, it was kind of a challenge then having the big dresses and the corsets and the swords in my hand to maneuver around the space, especially when you have, in the big ball number with the white outfit. I had these wings on that I would forget I had on and then try to walk through a doorway and get stuck. I mean, they become so much a part of you that you forget how big you are in comparison to doorways and all that kind of stuff.
This is for, is this Michael? Wonderful movie, so much fun, thank you. This is for Julia. You're so bad in this movie, and wondering what is the most evil thing you've ever done? Lie to the press. But it was only one time.
curious, are they still too young?
I think they are considering the part that I play, but that's, you know, we have a pretty rigid viewing feeling in our house. You know, we're more book people in our house, so, I mean, we'll find our time. That'll be happy and joyous for us to share that all together, but it probably isn't in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And last question for now is, Charlize, of course, stars in another version of Snow White, so I'm wondering if you could take her on, and if you did, who would win? The duel?
I've never met her, so I couldn't even begin to size her up for your entertainment.